In the hazy depths by the shores of old Norway, a band of fishermen embarked on their perilous voyage. The first rays of dawn struggled to pierce the dense fog, casting a crimson hue upon the tumultuous waters. These fishermen, seasoned and intrepid, steered their vessel through the perilous waters as the boat groaned and strained against the unyielding force of the waves. The fishermen scanned the horizon for any indication of peril. The ocean was eerily quiet, the only sounds being the soft splashing of water against the hull and the faint cries of seagulls. Suddenly, a ripple, far too grand to be the work of a mere fish, disturbed the surface. The fishermen exchanged apprehensive glances, gripping their nets and harpoons more tightly. The ripple swelled into waves, and from the abyss, something began to surface, with enormous and sinuous tentacles breaking through the water's surface, each thicker than a tree trunk and covered in suckers that reached for their boat. The fishermen gazed in horror as the monstrous appendages rose and twisted, both mesmerizing and terrifying in their movements. This was no ordinary sea creature. This was a beast from their darkest tales. The Kraken had risen from the depths, its presence transforming their fishing trip into a struggle for survival. As the tentacles stretched out, the men realized this moment could be their final encounter with the enigmas of mythology. Welcome to the Kraken. The Kraken, often portrayed as a monstrous sea creature with massive tentacles capable of sinking ships, is widely misunderstood in popular culture. Many mistakenly believe the Kraken hails from Greek mythology, likely due to its frequent depiction in films. A significant source of this misconception is the 1981 film Clash of the Titans, starring Laurence Olivier, which released the creature, and its 2010 remake, starring the very luminous Liam Neeson, released the Kraken. The Greeks indeed had their tales of sea monsters, such as Scylla and Charybdis, which appeared in Homer's epic poems. However, none of these creatures resemble the Kraken. The closest Greek equivalent might be Scylla, a giant sea monster slain by Perseus to save Andromeda. This is the correct name for the creature in the movies. The actual tales of the Kraken originate from a much cooler place than the warm waters of the Mediterranean coast, described as a giant squid or octopus lurking in the depths, capable of dragging English ships and their crews to a watery grave. The true origins of the Kraken can be traced back to Scandinavian folklore dating to the early medieval period. Unlike the movies, the Kraken is a creature of the cold, northern seas, terrifying sailors with its immense size and destructive power. The earliest known mention of the Kraken comes from Norwegian history. In 1180, the Norwegian king Sverre Sigurdsson reportedly described a monstrous sea creature in the waters surrounding Norway, Iceland, and Greenland. These early accounts depicted the Kraken as a giant tentacled beast capable of dragging entire ships and their crews from Norway's depths. One of the most detailed early descriptions of the Kraken is found in the Norwegian text, Konungs Skugsja, or the King's Mirror, written around 1250. The text describes a monstrous sea creature known as the Hafguffa, which was so large that it was often mistaken for an island. Sailors were warned that the creature could create massive whirlpools by simply submerging, pulling ships down to a watery doom. The Kraken also appears in various Icelandic sagas, collections of poems, and prose used to share tales. One notable saga is the Orvarod saga, where the hero encounters two enormous sea monsters, the Hugbugga and the Lambokka. Of the two, the Hugbugga was said to be the largest of the sea monsters, capable of devouring entire ships and creating whirlpools with its movements. In the 14th century, sailors reported sightings of massive tentacles washing ashore, leading to tales of gigantic sea beasts lurking beneath the waves. These stories were often accompanied by warnings to mariners to avoid certain areas where the Kraken was believed to reside. Modern scholars believe this may have been employed to keep competition away from trade routes. One famous account comes from the 18th century, where a French naval officer reported a harrowing encounter with a giant squid off the coast of Angola. The officer described how the creature's immense tentacles wrapped around his ship, attempting to drag it under. The crew fought valiantly, hacking at the tentacles with axes until the beast finally retreated, leaving behind deep gouges in the ship's hull as evidence of the struggle. Similarly, fishermen off the coast of Newfoundland in the early 19th century told tales of their boats being attacked by enormous tentacled monsters. These stories were often passed down through generations, becoming part of the local folklore and adding to the myth of the Kraken. In the 18th century, the legend of the Kraken was popularized by the Danish-Norwegian bishop Erik Pontoppidan in his work, The Natural History of Norway, published in 1752 and 1753. Pontoppidan described the Kraken in great detail, contributing significantly to its myths. He claimed that the Kraken was not just a myth, but a real creature, a giant squid or octopus that lived in the waters off of Norway. Pontoppidan's descriptions included accounts of the Kraken's massive size, its ability to create whirlpools, and its capacity to drag ships down to the ocean floor. Pontoppidan's work was influential because it bridged the gap between myth and scientific curiosity. He compiled sailor stories and anecdotes, presenting the Kraken as a plausible, yet terrifying, denizen of the deep sea. The 19th century saw the Kraken myth gain further traction, particularly in literature. Alfred Tennyson's poem, The Kraken, published in 1830, vividly describes the creature as a slumbering leviathan in the deep ocean, destined to rise to the surface only at the end of days. Tennyson's portrayal added a layer of apocalyptic mystery to the Kraken's legend, linking it to themes of doom and destruction. The Kraken also began to feature prominently in adventure literature, such as Jules Verne's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, published in 1870, which includes a memorable encounter with a group of giant squids. Verne's work, along with Herman Melville's Moby Dick, published in 1851, which features a giant squid encounter, cemented the Kraken's place in the pantheon of legendary sea creatures. The Kraken's influence extended into the 20th century, inspiring a range of authors, including H.P. Lovecraft, who drew upon the idea of ancient slumbering sea monsters in his creation of cosmic horror that blends with the fear of the unknown, a theme central to the Kraken legend. Similarly, John Wyndham's The Kraken Wakes, published in 1953, uses the Kraken as a metaphor for extraterrestrial threats emerging from the ocean depths. In the 21st century, technologue, advancements have allowed scientists to learn more about deep-sea creatures, including the giant squid, offering insights into behaviors that may have inspired the Kraken myth. Recent discoveries include capturing giant squid footage by stealthy deep-sea cameras like the Medusa, which revealed active hunting behaviors, contradicting previous beliefs that these creatures were passive predators. Giant squids occasionally wash ashore, providing opportunities for scientific study and public fascination. These events often make headlines, keeping the legend of the Kraken alive. The creature's popular image has even been used in modern marketing, such as Kraken Spice Drum, the Razer Kraken gaming headset, and the Kraken roller coaster at SeaWorld. This period has also seen an explosion of Kraken references in movies, television, and video games, from the monstrous sea creature in Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man's Chest to countless video game bosses. The Kraken has become a symbol of the unknown dangers lurking in the ocean's depths. Despite technological advancements, much of the ocean remains unexplored, feeding the enduring allure of sea monsters like the Kraken. The deep seas, vast uncharted regions, are fertile ground for myths and legends, representing humanity's fear of the unknown and the unseen dangers lurking beneath the surface. Scientific discoveries continue to shed light on real-life deep-sea creatures, such as giant squids and colossal squids, which share many characteristics with the mythical Kraken. These discoveries blur the line between myth and reality, reminding us that the ocean still holds many secrets waiting to be uncovered. What I find most interesting about mythologies of the deep is that the deep sea is still a mystery to us. The fact that we truly don't know what lies at the bottom of the ocean is what makes tales of the Kraken and other sea monsters so compelling. As always, Let me know what you think about the Kraken in the comments, and join me in the next video as we explore more of the mysteries of mythology.